Now it's time to go and to take a look at the first of our small-scale ecosystem case studies, and that is a case study of Breen Wood, which is a forest in County Antrim. And what we're going to do in this video is take a quick look at some of the abiotic components of that ecosystem. So let's first of all get our location sorted for where Breen Wood is. So we come up here towards the northern part of County Antrim. Here we are here. This is Breen Wood. And you can see something of its context here. If we look first of all at the elevation of this, we're able to see that we are in the upland area of the Antrim Plateau, first of all. So it's more elevated than some of the lowland areas. But also it's on the side of a slope here, coming up into the Antrim Plateau. So that's the first thing to discover. Now let's zoom in a little bit closer. Get a bit of a sense of Breen Wood itself. It's this beautiful little original deciduous woodland found in this part of the county of Antrim. Ireland used to be covered in woodland like this, but most of it has been chopped down for firewood and building materials and to make way for farmland. But there are a few little pockets of it, the original forest that exists, and Breen Wood is one of those. It's almost an enchanting, magical place to visit. Okay, let's go and have a look on from the side to get a little bit of a sense of the topography of it. As you saw in the Ordnance Survey map, it sits on the side of a slope here, and there's the upland area of the Antrim Plateau. So this angle gives you the sense there of the slope. That's going to be quite important in terms of how drainage happens and what happens to the rain that falls here. Okay, let's take a closer look at those abiotic components. We're going to focus in especially on climate and soils. So first of all, we'll get a little bit of a sense of the climate of this area. This is a climate map of Northern Ireland. It's showing the average annual rainfall over a 30-year period. So you can see down here Lurgan is one of the places in Northern Ireland that has the lowest amount of rainfall. But as you come up here, it's sitting between 800 to 1,000 millimetres. As you come up here into County Antrim, the rainfall is much higher, and especially in this upland area of the Antrim Plateau. And this is Breen Wood in and around about here, so you can see the rainfall totals are much higher in around about this area. So in this small scale ecosystem, this more upland area with higher than average rainfall totals than would be the case for Northern Ireland. And then if we look at the temperature in July, again we see here in this upland area the temperatures are lower than they would be in most other areas around Northern Ireland. So you have got above average rainfall, you've got below average temperatures, and those things, as we will discover, have some quite significant impacts on this particular small scale ecosystem. So let's have a look at how they can impact the soils. The soil here is called a pod soil, and this is a photograph of a soil profile here. But you can see that there is this organic topsoil. It's that classic colour that has the organic matter in it. But here down below you've got this grey subsoil. It is leached, quite badly leached by some of the processes that we'll look at now. Underneath, because this is on top of the Antrim Plateau, you've got a basalt bedrock here, and that means that these soils are very nutrient poor. They're very thin and they're very acidic with a pH only of 4.5. What about the leaching? Well, we've already made the connection, I guess, between some of the factors can explain that. I said that we've above average precipitation. So around about 1,600 millimetres per year. That's a very large amount for Northern Ireland. So you get a lot of input of precipitation. But you've also got very low rates of evapotranspiration here as well in comparison because of the very low temperatures, which ends up with there being quite a lot of leaching taking place here. Now add into the fact, of course, that we've just seen that this is part of a sloping site, and you're going to get quite a lot of leaching taking place in this soil. Okay, so that brings us to the last thing, and it's over to you for a little bit of work here. Because an ecosystem, as it says down here, is a community of interconnections. So what I want you to do is to study this schema here, which basically summarizes what we've just been looking at. And you're going to be trying to fill in as much detail here, explaining these connections as possible in terms of what they produce in the soil. And once you've done that, you can see then the outcome of that is that because these soils, because of the unique abiotic conditions of this particular ecosystem, the range of plants and animals is smaller than you would expect for a similar deciduous woodland in a less extreme environment. And for example, the 200-year-old oak trees that you can find here are about half the size that you would expect them to be for their age. So you can see these are some of the specific outworkings of the unique conditions here. And your job now is to go on and try and unpack as many of these connections as possible based on what you've just been told. How do all of these abiotic factors interact with each other?